When we hurt or feel happiness or joy or just need a good hug, what's our first instinct? To go to someone we're close with, right? Maybe it's a parent or a best friend or maybe even a trusted teacher. But our first thought is to share our struggles or even our happiness with someone that we're really close with. We want to be around someone who cares about us almost as much as we care about ourselves. Our body craves those connections with each other, and the real idea is why? Why do we care so much about creating bonds with each other that will last much longer than anything else? Okay. First, let's discuss why we should listen to our body's needs to create these bonds. In a blog entitled Pick the Brain, Grow Yourself, author Tracy O'Connor writes an article entitled 6 Reasons You Need to Be Touched. She discusses that your body reacts in amazing ways when it is touched by another, in a loving hug or maybe a congratulatory high five. O'Connor tells us that touching each other actually leads to feeling closer, reducing anxiety, bonding, providing sensory input that we all crave, creating lasting bonds, and actually lowering your blood pressure. Touching others whom you care deeply about can actually help you live a longer life. So why does having relationships affect us in such amazing ways? According to the Autism Speaks website, knowing someone is there for you really relieves your stress and helps us deal in more stressful situations, even when we don't have that person there. Even when good things happen to us, we also crave to tell someone. But why is that? Why do we need to share our successes as well? Even sharing the good things in life, like winning an Olympic medal or being Beyonce, helps us because it builds those connections. Our happinesses make the other person feel just as happy as they make us feel, because we've created those bonds and that avenue of caring for each other. When we feel closer with each other, we experience an uncontrollable rush of hormones from the pituitary gland. These 4 chemicals that are secreted have been nicknamed your happy chemicals by Dr. Loretta Graziano Bruning. Your happy chemicals are dopamine, serotonin, oxytocin, and endorphins. These hormones switch on to release when you've created a new connection with someone or connected with someone again, and then they switch off. And this switching on and off creates the body's need to reproduce that effect. Our bodies basically become addicted to these 4 chemicals on a safe level, of course, which makes us want to have them happen again and again. When the hormones are released, they're picked up by neurons that travel all the way from the gland to your brain. These dendrites here pick up the sensors from previous nerve cells. They are transported down the axon and into the next dendrites to the next cell. These help us realize when these hormones have been secreted. In other words, if these for some reason malfunctioned or didn't work properly, our brains wouldn't know that these hormones have been released. We wouldn't know that connecting with others makes us feel so good. Again, here's another picture of the synapses catching and sending the messages from one to another. Autism is a neurological disorder that affects the ability of the neurons to transport information from one to the next. It affects 1 out of every 68 children in the United States and remains one of the most undiscovered brain illnesses. There are 100 human genes that have been labeled at risk by the Autism Speaks website, which means that if one single mutation occurs on one of these 100 genes, a child ends up with autism. Diagnosed between the ages of 12 months to 16 months, it can be one of the most devastating diseases that a child can have on the parent and the family unit. It largely affects a child's ability to communicate effectively, create bonds, and store information in their brain. A child with autism has brain neurons that fire sporadically and unreliably. This means that they're not transporting information the same way yours and mine do. According to the American Journal of Biochemistry and Biotechnology, this is a main reason for a lot of their other issues as well. And as you can see by the diagram on the right, so many more disorders fall on the autism spectrum than we usually think about. On there, if you can't read it, are ADD, depression, auditory processing issues, ADHD, anxiety, and even OCD. In this case, autism inhibits from forming bonds because the neurons don't inform the brain when there is a release of hormones. This creates tons of issues in the family unit because a child really doesn't learn to trust and love their parents the same way that everybody else has. In a February 18th article for the Autism Speaks website, Dr. Larry Young unveils his new method of treating autism, oxytocin therapy. This means that he's having children with autism inhale the chemical oxytocin, which is one of our 4 happy chemicals released in our brain. Through this study, he's seen a drastic increase in treated children's ability to create bonds with others, sociability, and even an increase in their school habits and grades. This is leading scientists to think that there is a multitude of issues presented in autistic kids that are made markedly worse by their ability or by their lack of ability to send messages from the pituitary gland to their brain. Thousands are united in the fight to end autism. Parents, respite babysitters like myself, doctors, and financial backers. Together we can end autism, but only by raising awareness, funds, and love for those affected. Thank you.